This episode is brought to you by Indie Film Hustle TV, the world's first streaming service dedicated to filmmakers, screenwriters, and content creators. Learn more at indiefilmhustle.tv. And now your new show, Bridge and Tunnel. How did that come to be? And I know you shot. Did you shoot this during COVID? Right?
Not during COVID. Yeah.
So how did that come to be?
So I had dinner with Michael Wright a couple of years ago. He had probably just taken over Epics, and he was looking for, a half-hour escape from the toxic news cycle, and from a lot of the great shows that are on television can be pretty dark and depressing. So he's like, look, we need something half hour, put a smile on your face, something nostalgic, something period. Could you give me something that's sort of totally like Brothers McMullen, only about a group of guys like a diner? And I said, okay, I like that idea, but maybe instead of 6 guys, why don't I make it 3 guys and 3 girls? And then I kind of, I mentioned before, The Graduate's one of my favorite films, and always had an idea for a film. I didn't think it would be a TV show about, a bunch of kids the day after college graduation. And you come home, you're back in your parents' house. You have to get reacclimated to living at home after being gone for 4 years, reacclimated to, all of your friends who are also home. And, how does that pecking order reestablish itself? A lot of times people talk about like that night at the bar before Thanksgiving, everyone comes together and it's like the old order kind of reestablishes itself. Mm-hmm. But I was also very interested, like the time period in New York that I've always been obsessed with. And of course, you're never obsessed with, your era. Mine was the late 70s, early 80s in New York. You got the birth of punk and hip hop and new wave and the art scene and the fashion scene and the
rap,
city. Right,
yeah, hip hop, yeah.
So I was thinking like that would have been the time to live in. So in a weird way, that's another one where I kind of re-engineered the story to think about where these kids would be in 3 years as they were in that world. And then kind of took them back 3 years to be like, so season 1 is sort of establishing the kid Jimmy, who I'm going to have end up as a photographer in the fashion world. He's a kid who's, just returned from school and he's a photographer. Jill, his girlfriend, is going to end up in the fashion world, and she's just graduated from FIT, studying design. So that was sort of where the ideas came from. And we were supposed to be 8 episodes. I wrote 8 scripts, and then COVID hits, or I'm writing kind of leading up to COVID. And it comes to the point where it's like, they're going to pull the plug on the show. If production doesn't open up again. Production opens up and we have all the COVID protocols, and we lose basically 1/5 of our budget to the COVID protocols. Testing 3 times a week, additional, sort of nurses on set, shorter days, trying to pull as many of your interior scenes to be exterior scenes. And then we find out that the city is not issuing film permits, and half the show takes place in Manhattan. So then I have to go back I got to turn 8 episodes into 6 and cut out probably 1/5 of the cast and make all these stories work in these characters' backyards and front stoops and in the local bar. And in an odd, talk about pivoting and being able to do that.
Right.
In an odd way, it turned it into a different show. But I think, for season 1, it's a better show because I didn't have all the, let's say, the bigger incident that Manhattan and their lives in Manhattan would have given me. So I really had to go in and be like, okay, this has to be a character study now. Right. So it's going to be a little slower, but I got to be able to make these scenes work. If you got 3 guys sitting on their front stoop talking about their love lives, I was like, well, kind of sounds like Brothers McMullen. I think.
But it seems like you were. But it seems like you have been your entire career has been building up to that moment, because you are so used to not doing things and pivoting and not doing things with money and pivoting and having to shift things around. Someone who might have only been able to play in $100 million budgets that was like, well, that's the end of that. But you
Yeah.
were able to adjust and pivot and move. So all those tools you've put in your toolbox over your career helped you on a show, a network show still.
The other thing was like, I mean, I'm talking to all my friends who are my department heads, and everyone was feeling like I was feeling like we want to go back to work,
Right.
And I was like, if Epix is willing to do this, then I will figure out a way to do it, because we all just needed to get out of the house and get on set and shoot.
And jobs for people too.
Jobs for people. So I mean, it was just a blessing. And my cast, these great young kids who were they had a blast together, but they were so responsible. And we got through the whole thing without anyone getting sick. So
That's amazing. That's amazing. Yeah. To watch the rest of this interview, head over to indiefilmhustle.com.